Bored and annoyed.
Are you trying to come up with a clever beginning here?
I was trying to. Hello! That's what you do when you don't have a clever beginning.
That's what I do like every time.
You just get loud. Just get loud and that will get people's attention. Hello and welcome to another episode of Bored and Annoyed. I am home at the movies.
And I'm Jackson.
And for this episode, we are discussing the new Netflix series, Umbrella Academy.
In October 1989, 43 women around the world gave birth. None of these women had been pregnant when the day first began.
I have adopted 6 such children, gifted with abilities. I give you the Umbrella Academy.
I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound.
You didn't set this up as an episode of Bored and Annoyed Reviews.
Oh,
Alex.
I'm sorry.
All right.
It's an extension of Bored and Annoyed.
Yes. What did you think of the show?
This was a very strange show because it started out, and people remember from our main episode that I thought that the first episode was one of the better episodes of television that I've seen in a long time.
It was pretty good, yeah. And
it slowly devolves into cliche predictableness, and it really suffers because of it. But there are some characters that are so incredibly likable that they save the show from being probably like a C show. I think it's still above a C because of these characters.
Okay, I'm giving it like a D+.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay, wow.
The beginning, the show gets worse as it goes.
Yes.
I think that what is good about the show, the best thing about the show, is that it feels like there's actually money being spent.
Yes.
On what's on screen.
It looks really good.
My problem with the show are there's a few episodes that, like, as a whole, I feel like were just completely pissed me off and annoyed the fuck out of me.
Okay.
Like, there's one episode in this. Let's go into spoilers.
Okay. So you're giving it a D+.
I'm giving it a D+. Yeah.
I will give it a... God, it's tough because that first episode is so fucking... Like, I thought that first episode was an A.
Okay.
C+.
Okay. Now, the episode that like broke it for me, the first episode that broke it for me,
okay,
I think was the third one. There's a scene where Klaus, he's like the drug addicted gay character.
Yes.
Probably one of the more interesting characters on the show.
He's top 3 for sure.
Yeah. So he gets kidnapped by these assassins. And like, there's a lot of good ideas in this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's these assassins that go through time and kind of like have to kill certain people to make sure certain shit happens in the timeline, whatever.
Right. But they're buddy cop kind of things.
Yes.
And they're
Mary J. Blige.
Mary J. Blige. And it's very mundane the way that they treat their job.
Right.
You know?
But they kidnap this character, and like there's a scene where he's like tied up in a chair. Like,
yes.
It's not like a heavy chair. It's not bolted to the ground.
No.
They've got him in a closet, and the maid comes in to clean the room, and his mouth is duct taped. And like he can't, like, I'm sitting there watching it like, dude, he would tip this chair over in a heartbeat. There was a lot of shit like that where it's just like, this is fucking stupid. Whoever wrote this should know better.
Right.
It's kind of like my problems with Bird Box.
Right.
Where it's just like the logic doesn't really work unless all your characters are idiots.
Right.
There's another episode where it's like the whole concept is that it's the day that never happened. I actually think that's the name of the episode. Where like they go through a day and then they reset the day.
Yeah, that's very frustrating.
And it doesn't, like, you're thinking, okay, well, how are they going to use this? Like, there's got to be something here.
There are certain things that happen in that episode, like Klaus meets his gay lover from Vietnam.
Well, he's gone.
He's dead, but he actually gets to see him.
Okay.
And he doesn't get to see him by the end of like the regular series.
Well,
because
and then there's like the love story between Allison and Luther.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, like that, but it never had. It's just it doesn't. You basically wasted an episode.
Well, you did and you didn't, because you got certain things, like certain character arcs started wrapping up, and you started getting more happy endings.
Okay.
And then they sort of took them away.
Right, but what?
And that's kind of...
So are you? What are you? Would the excuse be that you're learning about the characters in that episode, even though what specifically happens to them doesn't happen?
I don't even think that you're learning about the characters. I think it was sort of a writing thing, because I think about everything from a writing perspective, and I think it was the idea of like, these are the things that the characters think they need, and look at them, they're going to get the thing, and you as the viewer want them to have it because you like most of these characters.
Sure, okay.
But they're not going to get the thing that they think they need. They have other needs. Like Klaus needs to step up to the plate. He doesn't need to see his gay lover. Luther and Allison, they don't need to be together. Everybody needs to step up to the plate.
What's essentially the point? I mean, like I just felt like it was a waste. And then the next episode, a lot of the things that happen still happen the exact same way. There's specific sets of characters that like aren't really affected because they're happening outside of what changed.
But some of them never happen. Like the Luther and Allison thing never happens.
Correct.
Klaus never sees his gay friend, and what's his name? Diego never has that talk with the mom that the mom was going to share everything. You know.
Yep.
So there are things that change.
The mom was a weird character.
She was kind of cool too. There's lots of. It's
just so dumb that they're so attached to it. They know it's a fucking robot.
I mean, yes and no, because I think it's one of those things where. You can logic your way out of it, but if you're raised with something as your mother and it looks like a human and it treats you like it's human, I think that's one thing that I think it's hard to put yourself as a viewer in that mind space and be like, yeah, I just wouldn't give a shit. She's a toaster.
I would agree if she acted like a person.
Sometimes
but she
does
not.
Sometimes she did though. There's that thing where she's talking to him about his stutter. There were moments. There were moments where she
helped him with his stutter. That's true.
I mean,
what about the fact that the mom gets quote unquote killed, and then Diego's like amazed that she's like like shocked that she's walking around. It's fucking dumb.
Well, it's a problem of setup. If we had set up like this is a way that you can kill her and she'll just die forever like this, then fine. Then it could work. But it's not set up.
But you could just still build another one.
He just unplugs her.
Right.
Like, that's the problem.
And everybody acts so distraught about it.
Right.
Who did this to mom?
Yeah. That was something that just really did not work. There's another thing, too, which is like one of the time-traveling guys. He can go toe-to-toe with Luther, but I believe Luther's supposed to have super strength. He throws a dude out of
He's a big badass, yeah.
Yes, but he throws a dude out of like a bank when they're kids. So he's got super strength, but this dude is going toe-to-toe with him. Didn't make much sense to me, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I would agree. You mean like in the home invasion
scene, which was actually most of it was pretty good.
No, there were some neat little action scenes in it. I like I said, there's a lot of good ideas in this. There's kind of a cool butler character who's like this monkey. They don't really explain much about how he came to be or anything, but he's a cool character. But the problem they have with him is he's clearly just an exposition dump vehicle who like he pops in at the right time and says, I guess it's time for you to learn this secret.
Yes, your father shared this with me.
He does that like 4 or 5 times throughout the season, I feel like.
Yep. I mean, we haven't talked about number 5 though.
He's the best character, in my opinion.
This kid is flat out amazing.
He's good. Yeah, I like him.
He's a really good, like you buy that he's like a 50-something-year-old in a 13-year-old's body.
Yeah, it was cool. Like basically the concept is he went into the future and the apocalypse had already happened. He lived for like decades and then he came back but he came back in the same body that he left in originally.
Which was so
everyone
great
else
because
is
it's
like in their 20s and he's 13 or
because
whatever.
It's like, what did he say? It's like, this is like a thing that this is a vessel that exists for me in all possible times, in all possible places, like something like that. He's explaining it, and you're just like, this kid is fucking cool.
Yeah, he was a cool character.
And I would say the problem is that like I go back to the first episode, it's so fantastic. Like the way that they introduce Klaus's power of talking to the dead. They just say, can't you just call up dad? And you're like, wait, what? And that's how powers are introduced.
Yeah.
It's just a mundane conversation.
It is interesting. Like, I feel like I wanted the show to be about them like growing up and the dynamic in the household, all that shit. And it's just not really about that, in my opinion. It's about this overbearing threat that's going, the world's going to end, and they need to figure shit out in order to save the world.
Because 5 has gone to the future and he's seen a post-apocalyptic world where everybody is dead. He's the only person alive. The problem with that, and the problem with most of these time travel things, is you have to deal with all of the tropes that come with a time travel story, which usually means like, that like there are like he's carrying an eye that one of Luther was carrying in the future. Yes. His corpse had, and he carries it around, and you're just waiting for that to, like, you're waiting for 5 to be the one who brings the eye to that scenario where everybody dies.
Yeah,
and it's one of those things where you're like, well, it's a time loop. It's a time loop. Like, that's why and I'm convinced, even with the ending of this series, that we are still in the time loop.
Oh yeah, it's all going to be about time, because like and
that's the problem, is like,
well, it's funny because I just think about like Dark compared to this.
Right.
How Dark handles time travel.
Right.
Where like there's nothing obvious going on ever. Right. I feel like in that show.
Also, I knew from the drop, that this was Ellen Page's doing. I knew.
Oh yeah,
she's got powers.
Clearly,
and she's going to be the
most
reason.
Powerful.
Yes,
right.
I mean, you just saw, and that's the problem, is you see so much of it coming.
Can we talk about that too? How many fucking schmaltzy, overly emotional bullshit, like one-on-one scenes there were, like reverse shot scenes.
Some of them were a bit much.
There's one episode where it's like the first 20 minutes of the episode is like, oh, Allison is talking to Luther about something important, and now Ellen Page is talking to the guy from Overlord about something important, and whatever. And by the way, that Overlord, I watched that again this weekend. That guy he's fucking great in that.
Yep.
And in this, he was just I don't know. This show,
his character was so over the top. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, because at first he's trying to basically seduce her. The setup is that Ellen Page plays the character who doesn't have powers.
Yes.
And she like has always felt like the third wheel or the one who doesn't get any respect or attention or love. So basically this guy who she's teaching to play violin, she like gives lessons to this guy, and he like falls for her.
Yeah.
And she's like amazed that somebody likes her.
But he's a psycho. He killed his father. He spent years in prison. He's the syndrome to the Umbrella Academy.
He is, yes.
And
he's like the jealous kid who was born on the same day, right?
As all of these kids.
Actually, that was an interesting scene, though. It was like when they set him up as like his past, and he came to watch them, and the dad basically told him to get fucked.
You know what I had really hoped, if I'm honest, because like the show starts and it's got this strong premise with strong characters. Other than I would say that Luther has enough mystery behind him. Allison is a bit one note at the beginning, and so is Ellen Page's character.
Yes.
But Klaus, 5, and the dead brother and the monkey butler
guy,
they're all interesting enough that you want to see what's going on. But the problem is that it's so rife with possibilities for story that you just get excited by it, and then it inevitably lets you down because it goes down the most tread path it could go down. There's a part of me that was like, there were 43. I said there was 13.
Yeah, where are the other ones?
That's the show, is dealing with these kids were brought together and they were raised to train their powers. Or
now
whatever.
they have to deal with the other kids that don't have. They're just
and maybe there's a business dude who rose up and he doesn't tell anybody that he has mind control powers, but he's the head of a company or something. Well, there's so much, and I was hoping that the dude who went to the violin thing was one of the kids that was born on the day and was one of the kids and had a power, but he wasn't. He was just the cliche, and he's
dispatched of so easily, and it's just
then Ellen Page, when she becomes powerful and she kills everybody, it's like, wait, so you just kill people? Like, you're just insane? That's also part of your power? You're just a crazy bitch?
Well, she was clearly upset, right?
She was.
She
but
can't
she
control
also
her anger,
But
right?
she also gets all pale and emo, and then she just doesn't say anything.
How bad did that look, by the way? Like, she's getting on the bus with her eyes all fucked up and
in
shit.
all honesty, I liked her better like that than I did. But it says more about her
She's
character.
less boring.
It says more about her character than anything else.
Well, it was funny because that was one of my thoughts was like when she turned into this like monster, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, how did they manage to make like a character like this so boring? And then I remembered, X-Men 3.
Yeah.
Just as boring.
Yeah. Well, she used to have charisma.
Right. No. And I was thinking Juno, like,
Yeah.
Oh, and I wasn't talking about her in X-Men 3. I'm comparing her character to Phoenix. But yes,
Gotcha.
good point.
Yeah.
She was in X-Men 3.
Yeah.
She was more fun in X-Men 3.
She
was
was.
like the one who could like pull people into
She
floors
had,
and shit.
yeah, she had charisma.
Yeah. And even in what was the Dream Within a Dream movie? She was in that too.
Inception. She was
kind
kind of boring in that.
I mean-
but everybody was a little boring in that, if we're honest. I mean, Inception's fine. Don't fucking tear me up on it.
like the greatest movie ever, according to some people.
Yeah, but
no, I overall I thought the show was like a little below average.
I loved the soundtrack. The soundtrack is fantastic.
That's the best. That's a good point. Every episode has like a few good tunes.
Yeah. And it does one of my favorite things, which is somebody has a power and then they find out that they can tweak their power to do something else, which is Klaus when he finds out he can. Oh, and the whole revelation that the dead brother who's been dead forever, he's there with them. He's one of my favorite characters too.
Yeah, he was cool.
And he doesn't get a lot of screen time, but I do love the whole like, he was somebody who did not want to use his powers. He hated his powers because it was like monster
It's like
powers.
gross, yeah.
Yeah. And they would kill people. Like it's, like that scene where he's like, they're like, well, you got to go out there, Ben. And he's like, do I have to?
Yep.
Great scene.
Yeah, all the stuff with them, like as kids, where the stuff you wanted, there wasn't enough of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's that's why I say the beginning, and we already said it, but the beginning of the show is so much better than the end because it
gets
has
worse
more of
as
that
it goes.
shit.
Right.
It had more of the good shit at the beginning, and you weren't more, you didn't know the exact path it was going down in the first 2 episodes, first 3. But,
Right. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, it's fine. Check it out. I'll watch a second season.
So will
though.
I.
I fingers crossed it becomes better. But I mean,
It looks like they're just continuing the same plot just based on how it ended. It doesn't look like a thing where they can just reset it and do like kind of what you were saying.
right. Yeah.
Like the threat isn't really over.
Right.
You know.
And then the father, there was something interesting about the father, which was we learned he seemed to be like he was from the future or something.
Yes. There was like a rocket ship taking off scene.
Yeah,
where
that
he's
was-
like talking to his dying wife or whatever. That was weird.
That was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of interested to see where that goes.
I
but
like that actor too.
Right. Well, I'm just overall, I'm just a little worried about what they'll do with that because I don't want to get my hopes up.
I got to imagine the show will only get worse. I mean, honestly,
It reminds me of, it kind of reminds me. Did you ever watch Heroes?
I watched the first season.
Which was the best season.
Yes, that's what I've heard.
By far and away. Kind of reminds me of Heroes a little bit. Similar premise. But I think that's the end of the episode.
Thank you for listening. Make sure and follow us on Twitter at BoredAnnoyed, on Instagram at bored_and_annoyed. Go to our website, boredannoyed.com. All the links to where you can find our show and subscribe to our show are on there. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Also wanted to clarify one last thing. I said it was from the guy who did Hellboy. I was wrong.
Oh.
It's from the guy, My Chemical Romance.
Same thing.
He's got a very similar art style. That was the thing that but anyways.
Perfect.
Bye-bye.